Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the pre-final week playoff commissioner's address. Everything is set. The final matchup is set. All of the losers are still somehow playing football here just to figure out the final positions, other than me, who I've already actually wrapped up 8th, if I'm not mistaken. So that's super how the mighty have fallen. As you can see, we have our Bassett's Brawlers taking on the waiver wire for the championship. This week we have myself taking on Habs Rural, Squirrel Nuts taking on Inglorious Bradfords, and Eric's team taking on Mitchell's team, the battle of the exciting names. Quick recap of last week. Vinegar Strokes lost to Mitchell's team 91-82 to 82.6, so somewhat of a close game. Roethlisberger didn't have a great night. I had some performance from Demaryius Thomas. Other than that, like the whole season has kind of told me, my team sucks. I don't even know who these running backs are that I'm playing. Josh Gordon didn't really pan out for me. Should have probably traded him, see if I could have got something for him. On Mitchell's team, Peyton Manning actually had a slow night, 13 points for him. But Edelman, any wide receiver in New England right now has turned it on. He ended up with 15.4. A huge performance from Le'Veon Bell, almost 24 points, which is become a norm. He was actually projected for 22 points, which is huge in our league. Huge. So big performance out of him. So I'll actually lose my first playoff game. Jesse Mitchell will move on. Next matchup here, I'm looking at the waiver wire and Squirrel Nuts. This is a high-scoring affair. Waiver wire did pull it out, though, with a huge performance from Odell Beckham Jr., who has turned it on as of late. He had 3 touchdowns, 143 yards. Big night. He did have a fumble loss, but when you're putting up 3 touchdowns and almost 150 yards, it really doesn't matter. Waiver wire pulls out this one, 119 to 99. Jay Cutler, he's had a rough year, and Squirrel Nuts put him in. He ended up with 16 points, which I believe is higher than his average. Steve Smith, Senior, had a big start to the season, but slowed down. Same holds true for DeMarco Murray. Dave's team looked good coming out of week 6, 7-ish. DeMarco Murray was 100 yards a game. He was looking good. Jimmy Graham didn't have the year he was supposed to. So a strong start, but just kind of a dwindling finish. Of course, waiver wire's got Beckham Jr. He's going to need him huge next week, or this coming week here, to pull out the title win. He's also got Gronkowski, which is can have a big night. Justin Forsett can have a big night. LaShawn McCoy was really disappointing this year, not quite as disappointing as Adrian Peterson, mind you. So I guess you can kind of keep that in your pocket. Moving on to the next game, the blowout of the week, the highest score of the week, and the lowest score of the week. It was really not that close. Eric's team against Habs Rule. Eric's team wins this one, 125 to 77. Finally, a big performance from Drew Brees. I think it's his biggest this year. 27 points from him. Des Bryant, 29. He had 3 TDs and 114. Eddie Lacy had a good night. Joique Bell had a good night. Mike Wallace had a good night. It was good for Eric this week. Habs, Indianapolis against that Houston defense. Houston, I think, is one of the more underrated teams, and they just seem to have a hard lineup. But teams can't put points up against Houston. Luck ends up with 16. T.Y. Hilton with 5, which is abnormal for him this year. He's been one of the best wide receivers. A.J. Green never really had the year he was supposed to. He had a couple good games here and there. Jamal Charles, another huge disappointment. It's tough being in those top 3 picks, and you got to go with Peterson, McCoy, and Charles this year, and they've all been disappointments. Moving into our last matchup, we've got Bassett's Brawlers against Inglorious Bradfords. This was actually the tightest affair of the week, and it was really the battle of inept quarterbacks. Russell Wilson with 12 points, and Sanchez with 8 points. Wow, that's bad. Bradford's had Mike Evans in there, the rookie. He's been pretty good. I mean, he got 7 points. Not bad. Alshon Jeffrey's been good this year. 13.8 points. Gio Bernard, he needs the yardage, but he's not getting the touches. They're giving him all to Hill. I think Hill had 3 touchdowns this week and 150 yards, as opposed to Bernard. He had 80 yards rushing and 24 receiving. Forte, again, just a bad game for Chicago. I don't know if you guys watched that, but it was an awful game all around, other than Breeze. I think he had like 34 for 39. He was good. Looking at Spencer's team here, I mean, he's got C.J. Anderson, who is, he's a touchdown-dependent big player. He did have 96 yards, actually, all-purpose yards, so that's a big week for him, but no touchdowns. Marshawn Lynch, Seattle's kind of turning it on a little bit, but Russell Wilson has certainly slowed down. But Randall Cobb and Antonio Brown have been huge. Roddy White had a good week, finally. I don't know if he'll have another one ever again. But Antonio Brown, I think he's at almost 30 games with 5+ receptions every single game. So that is, I mean, you're catching him from Roethlisberger. So, I mean, you're going to do well. So that's our final matchup from last week. That was a nice tight game. Like I said, we've got Bassett's Brawlers going against the Waiver Wire for the championship here. Waiver Wire is predicted to win 123-114, but we all know that means shit. Just looking at their lineup set right now, I imagine they've been looking at it closely. No huge changes. Waiver Wire is playing Tony Romo at quarterback, so that might be a little bit different. Spencer still has Roddy White in, so I think that's going to be his toughest decision of the week, who to stick in there. Travis Kelce from Kansas City playing tight end for him, so they are playing Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh. That'll be a tough game. Frank Gore is currently in his flex position, who's actually out. Not saying you should, but you might want to take a look at that, Spencer. He's got Atlanta's kicker. And St. Louis defense against the Giants. Kind of depends on how Beckham plays, mind you. If St. Louis shuts him down, that could actually decide the game. St. Louis has been on fire as of late. They have been the hugest surprise for sure in the second half, and after last week's performance, or lack of performance from every other team, they might be the best second half team for the end of the season here. Looking over at waiver wire here, Landry for Miami in. That's a boom or bust play. Jordy Nelson, of course, you got to play. McCoy, unfortunately, you got to play. Gronk, Trey Mason. That's another boom or bust play. So that's why he's projected for high points, but his variability is going to be huge. It's going to be a good matchup. I'm quite excited. It's going to be good football. Tonight we have, let's take a look here. Just going to see who we've got tonight. I'm actually gone to a Christmas party here tonight, but there's been some good Monday and Thursday night football happening. You know what? I wouldn't actually recommend watching tonight's game. I'm not going to lie. It looks like it's going to be the Titans and Jaguars, so let's assume that I never actually said anything. Wow, that is going to be an awful game. Super. We've actually got some Saturday night games, so just as kind of a year-end NFL doing something different here. So there is 2 Saturday games, one at looks like 2:30, so there's going to be one afternoon game, one evening game. First off, we've got the Eagles and Redskins, and then the Chargers and 49ers. So Phillip Rivers has been struggling, but 49ers suck. So keep an eye out for those games on Saturday. It's going to be a little bit different. And then to finish off the season, we've actually got the Broncos and Bengals on Monday, so that'll be a good game as well. Good luck to the 2 of you in the finals. Salute to the rest of us that bit the dust. it's going to be good last week of playoffs here, and yeah, that's about it. All hail the commish.